Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gopal commentary on the Brahma Samhita. Bhagavat, Paramatma, Krishna, Bhakti, and Priti Sandarbhas. After disappearance, After the disappearance of Sri Rupa and Sanatan, Jiva Goswami became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal, Orissa, and the rest of the world, and he used to guide them in their devotional service. In Vrindavan, he established the Radha Damodar temple. He inspired Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Dukhi Krishna Das to preach Krishna consciousness in Bengal. Formerly, he was Vilasa Manjari Gopi. Srila Jiva Goswami ki jai. Just read a little bit from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. This is New Delhi, July 25th, 1967. The wall of heat that greeted them felt good to Swamiji. He had come for this. Inside the airport terminal, overhead fans stirred the muggy air as Swamiji and Kirtanananda stood in slow-moving lines, while uniformed clerks checked passports and customs forms without Western-style computers or efficiency. Just beyond the areas of immigration and customs, people waiting for arriving passengers were waving, calling, and coming together with friends and family members. After Swamiji and Kirtanananda claimed their luggage and cleared customs, they stood on the sidewalk outside the terminal. Although Swamiji had removed his sweater, Kirtanananda stood sweltering in his black wool suit. It was 2 a.m. All around passengers were meeting loved ones who embraced them, sometimes even garlanded them, and helped them into cars or taxis. But no one was there for Swamiji. It was certainly different from the recent tearful airport scenes where Swamiji had been with his loved ones. Now, instead of being surrounded by loving disciples, he was besieged by taxi drivers and porters wanting to carry his luggage for a fee. In Hindi, Swamiji asked one of the drivers to take them to Chippiwada in Old Delhi. The driver put their luggage in the trunk, and Swamiji and his disciple climbed into the back seat. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 8, Chapter 18, text number 12. Yat tad vapur bati vibhushana yudhair. Yat tad vapur bati vibhushana yudhair. Yat tad vapur bati vibhushana yudhair. Avyakta chid vyaktam adarayad dhari. Avyakta chid vyaktam adarayad dhari. Avyakta chid vyaktam adarayad dhari. Babhuva tenaiva sa vamano vatu. Babhuva tenaiva sa vamano vatu. Babhuva te naiva savamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata sampashyator divya gatir yata nata sampashyator divya gatir yata nata yatadvapurbate vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adaraya dhari babhuvate naiva samamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata. Bolo. Yatadvapurbate vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adaraya dhari babhuvate naiva savamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata. Yatadvapurbate vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adharaya dhari babhuvate naiva savamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata. Yatadvapurbate vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adharaya dhari babhuvate naiva savamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata. Vaishnavis. Yatadvapurbate vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adaraya dhari babhuvate naiva savamano vatu sampashyator divya gatir yata nata. Yat, which, tat, that, vapu, transcendental body, ati, manifests, vibhushana, with regular ornaments, ayudhai, and with weapons, avyakta, unmanifested, chit vyaktam, spiritually manifested, adarayat, assumed, hari, the Lord, babhuva, immediately became, tena, with that, eva, certainly, sa, he, the Lord, Vamana, dwarf, Vatu, a Brahmana brahmachari, Sampashyato, while both his father and mother were seeing, Divyagati, whose movements are wonderful, Yata, as, Nata, a theatrical actor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahmana dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. Purport. The word nata is significant. An actor changes dress to play different parts, but is always the same man. Similarly, as described in the Brahma Samhita 5:33 and 39, the Lord assumes many thousands and millions of forms. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham. He is always present with innumerable incarnations. Ramadi Murtishu Kalani Yamena Tishtanana Vataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu. Nonetheless, although he appears in various incarnations, they are not different from one another. He is the same person, with the same potency, the same eternity, and the same spiritual existence. But he can simultaneously assume various forms. When Vamanadev appeared from the womb of his mother, he appeared in the form of Narayan, with four hands equipped with the necessary symbolic weapons, and then immediately transformed himself into a brahmachari, Vatu. This means that his body is not material. One who thinks that the Supreme Lord assumes a material body is not intelligent. He has to learn more about the Lord's position. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Jarma karma cha medivyam evam yaveti tatvata. One has to understand the transcendental appearance of the Lord in his original transcendental body, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nam Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Yam Bhaktam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yet Kripata Mahamandi Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So the translation again. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahmana dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. So there is always some prelude before the Lord appears. Even in our own life, there is prelude that leads to appearance of the Lord, and there is a similarity as well how he appears as an incarnation. If you look into universal history, before appearance of Krishna, there was trouble there's some universal troubles, difficulties. Before Lord Chaitanya appeared, there was another trouble, people becoming extremely materialistic. Even there was some opulence there, and education, etc. Krishna kind of went out of the picture of that situation. And Advaita Acharya was very distressed. And similarly as well, in this occasion, there was Bali Maharaj. He was a king of demons. He became very powerful and he conquered the kingdom, heavenly kingdom. So there's various troubles, universal troubles. Then it causes some distress for the devotees, are pure devotees or mixed devotees like a demigods. And then they pray for the Lord to appear. Just like as well, most of devotees come to Krishna consciousness because of various types of distress, difficulties, challenges they may face. And that kind of drives, inspires to call for the Lord. If you are there, whoever is out there, please help me. And of course, devotees, people who are ready, are Krishna conscious, they very specifically pray for the Lord, please help us. And you can see Krishna has appeared in response to the call of the demigods, and Lord Brahma went to this specific place and performed specific rituals and sacrifice to invoke the Lord's appearance. Advaita Acharya, he worshipped the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila in order to invoke Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And similarly, there's a similar story that made Vamana Deva appear. So there's a kind of sequence. First, there is some universal trouble, and then devotees pray for the Lord's appearance, and then there is a process to invoke that appearance. You perform certain sacrifice and yagya in the different times, places, and circumstances that may differ, but the yagya sacrifice has to be there. And then the Lord appears first in the heart and then into womb of a mother that he chosen to become a mother, a devotee who chosen to become a mother, and only then he appears physically as an incarnation sometime later. And often is not exactly he comes out of the womb like in this material world, but it just kind of appears. And then he takes a form of the incarnation or the what is called lila avatar, pastimes. Sometimes he incarnates as in a certain form to perform a special pastime. So various types of missions are there. So leading to this pastime, there's a Bali Maharaj, who is actually a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj was a king of demons, although he was a pure devotee of the Lord. And Bali Maharaj also was a devotee. However, he was born in this family of demons, as we discussed the other day. It's not a disqualification to become a devotee, or to try to become a devotee, as I exemplify in my own life. Bali, he became very, very powerful, and there is a few principles to become very powerful. What he did, the power ultimately, and that was exemplified again by Prahlad Maharaj, because his father was demon, he was challenging, where is your power coming from? And he said, from the same source where your power is coming from. But the demons don't acknowledge that power and where it is coming. And the devotees, they know very clearly where is their power coming. And if somebody can be extremely powerful and completely godless due to whatever karmic situation, and they don't acknowledge where it is coming from, but devotee knows where the power is coming from. So there is this few very powerful principles to become empowered. Anybody would like to become empowered here? Yes. Yes, so there is a desire to become powerful, but we need to know how to become powerful. And it is not done independently from the mercy of the Lord. Speaking about sustainable power. If you just want to rise like a shooting star and then go down, then we see many, many demons in Bhagavatam exemplify a power that you're trying to gain without the mercy of the Lord. It doesn't last. It comes and goes. That is called Chanchala, the goddess of fortune. It cannot stay in a place where there is lack of the Lord's mercy and presence. She only stays where there is Lord. She is eternal consort of Narayan. She is expansion of Srimati Radharani ultimately. So it's only possible to maintain the power if there is Lord present at our heart. And how to get that blessing, and this is Bali Maharaj exemplified. He served very, very nicely devotees and brahmanas. In this specific case, it was brahmanas. And he is also giving charity, and he followed advice of the guru. So he pleased his guru, although the guru wasn't a devotee. Still, that principle works in all times, place, and circumstances. He pleased the guru, he pleased the brahmanas in giving charity. So, because of those blessings that he received from guru and brahmanas, he became extremely powerful. And become very, very powerful. And he conquered all the heavenly planets, all the demigods, and become established his kingdom that reached even the heavenly planets. So by this mercy of the Lord, impossible can become possible. But the secret is how to remain in those good graces, not just once, not just a one-off, but how to constantly remain in these good graces. So that means we have to please the Lord, and by pleasing devotees and pleasing a spiritual teacher. And then those blessings empowers devotee. So we recognize that we don't have an independent power from the Supreme Lord, that this power is coming from the Lord through the devotees, through the Guru Parampara, and reaching us. And we can become what is called transparent via medium. Transparency means that the glass is transparent. It allows the light to come in. If the glass is dirty, unclean, etc., or if there was in autumn there is lots of leaves, they come and cover the glass, the light cannot come through. So whereas kind of obstacles in the heart, lust, anger, greed, selfishness, and etc., they prevent the light to go through, and they prevent the enlightenment and the power to come through. So what devotee is doing is actually reflecting the light and the power of the Supreme Lord from their hearts because of the blessings that they have. So then the mother of demigods, when Bali becomes so powerful and started to harass demigods, the mother of demigods is called Aditi. She's a wife of Kashyapa Muni. So she approached her husband for guidance, what to do. My sons are suffering. The universal affairs are terrible. My sons are not even visible. I don't know where they are. They all kind of dispersed in all directions out of fear of the power of Bali. It becomes so powerful. And she been advised then to perform sacrifice. So this is the next stage. There's a universal trouble, and then Aditi was a devotee of the Lord. She approached spiritual teacher. In this case, it was her husband, and inquired what to do in this situation. And her husband advised to perform this very specific yagya called Payavrata. And he said that in 12 days the Lord will appear. So she performed this very special sacrifice. And of course, in this age is the Sankirtan Yagya, is the sacrifice to make the Lord appear in our life. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can make a Lord appear in on our tongues and in our hearts. So she performed the yagya, and the Lord has appeared, and by performing Sankirtan Yagya, the Supreme Personality he accepts this invitation and becomes uh, and agrees to enter in very personal, intimate. In due course of time, it becomes very, very personal and close, intimate relationship. And of course, all relationship starts in a formal way, but it becomes more and more closer. By Sankirtan Yagya, the Supreme Lord Himself can fully appear in our hearts and lives in due course of time. So first, then of those 12 days, um, the Lord has appeared and said, first he appeared as Vishnu and he said, I will become your son. And then later on, after some time, that's exactly what happened. And first, interestingly enough, first the Lord has appeared in the mind of Kashyapa Muni, then in the mind of Aditi, and then in her womb. And then later on, he appeared in his beautiful Vishnu form, which is there has lots of similarities with Krishna. It's got a bluish, kind of darkish complexion. It's got a yellow dhoti, which is kind of very beautiful contrast between blue and yellow. These colors very nicely go together. And it's described that he had a blooming eyes like lotus petals. So it's amazing, beautiful comparisons are given in the description of the Lord that the eyes are blooming. I mean, sometimes you can see some devotees who are very connected with Krishna, they become like blooming. And that's what happened as well to Aditi when she had before the birth of the Lord, because of the presence of the Lord in her womb, uh, she was blooming. The same happened with Mother Sachi and also with Yashoda Mata. Because of the presence of the Lord in her womb, they were shining and blooming. And and devotees also can become blooming because of the presence of the Lord. Shishikodanyatai Maya Purushashiki Jai. So the Lord's eyes are blooming like lotus petals. Lotus petals. I was actually looked, how just to get a little bit of understanding how the lotus petals look. So if you like, you can Google it just to get a bit of an idea of how beautiful the Lord's eyes are, and that can help us to remember the Lord. So, what another beautiful thing what happens when the Lord is born, like all the directions becomes filled with joy and jolliness. When Krishna was appearing, when Lord Chaitanya was appearing, when Vamana Deva was appearing, the whole atmosphere become illuminated with joy and jolliness. When Lord Chaitanya was appearing, Advaita Acharya was dancing in ecstasy with Haridas Thakur. And when Krishna was appearing, everything becomes so beautiful. The whole place is become like a Vrindavan manifested. Whatever the Vrindavan is there in the spiritual world, all the qualities of Vrindavan and the beauty and the rivers and the nature and everything become fully, fully beautiful and joyful and jolly. Jolly and jolliness. People don't use actually so much this kind of language because the true jolliness is lacking in their life. Uh, but you can become truly jolly and sustainably jolly in connection with Krishna when our life become filled with Krishna consciousness. And as well in temple atmosphere, if we're very focused, if we're chanting our japa very nicely, performing sadhana nicely, doing kirtan, then it also that atmosphere of the presence of the Lord, the situation becomes jolly, and people who come and they can experience that jolliness. Often people say that there's even people who are completely atheistic. We had, a few times people coming like a politicians and etc. They enter this atmosphere and they feel, something, and that is the nature of Vrindavan. That even an atheist can experience special presence of the Lord. And another another interesting thing. So this is the like what happens when the Lord appears. And another interesting thing that I forgot to mention about his garland. He's got a very very beautiful flower garland, and it is so full of scent and full of honey that there is like a almost like a little cloud of bees that come and starts invading the garland and to get some honey. And sometimes those bees as well are at the lotus feet of the Lord and trying to get some honey from there too. So this is the appearance of the Lord. And then, after he appeared in front of Kashyapa Muni and Aditi, then he turned himself into this small Brahmana boy, brahmachari boy with a nice deer skin, and various types of demigods, and everybody gave him like a little present and a little gift. Like Shiva gave him Rudraksha beads, and everybody else gave something. Somebody gave umbrella as well. Of course, it's not that it's raining where it was, but actually used umbrella to protect from the sun. So you can use umbrella in various ways. So it was extremely beautiful and effulgent as well. That everybody was like mesmerized by his amazing beauty. And it's described as we read in a purport. It's like Lord takes these different forms, like a dramatical actor. And we watch the films and the actors and become so attracted. They perform various types of activities, and people become fans often of the actor. And they do, in one film they're a hero, in another film there's somebody else, in a third film like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I remember I watched the film. In one film he became pregnant. You kind of break from the routine of being like normally he was acting as a superhero, but in that specific film he became pregnant, which is it doesn't happen so often for men. But in this film it was a bit sci-fi type of film. And it is kind of very attractive. People become fans even in this material world. But the Lord, all attractive Krishna. Of course, we are mostly as the devotees of Krishna, we are very very attracted to Krishna. But it's also very nice to see how he manifests himself in different types of incarnations, and in this form as a Vamana Dev. It's very very beautiful little boy brahmachari. He also had a little belt from the straw, and so a very very attractive personality, very cute as you would say. And then he went to see Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, he was performing um, uh, certain sacrifices because he was very religious, pious person. So performing sacrifice, and Bali, and there was like a lots of brahmanas surrounding. There was a many great personalities. The situation was like a very kind of auspicious. But as soon as Bali Maharaj entered that place, although everything was like a very nicely going on, he was just like surpassed the whole situation. It was so effulgent. The brahmanas were mesmerized. Bali Maharaj was mesmerized. He was a devotee of Vishnu ultimately, although he was acting in the form of demon. So everybody was shocked in his appearance. And Bali Maharaj immediately felt, I have to offer something to this person. Um, and he said, whatever you want, anything you like. And you see, this is where the power is coming from of Bali Maharaj. Immediately, as soon as you saw the Lord, and of course, he looked like brahmachari, so in one sense, he was Brahmana brahmachari. So Lord was acting as a representative of the Lord. Although he was the Lord himself, he was like acting as a devotee of the Lord in one sense, as a brahmachari, as a Brahmana. And immediately, Bali Maharaj wanted to offer him something, some service. So you can see this continuing this theme of becoming empowered. So he said, anything you like, whatever is my kingdom, wealth, fame, jewels, whatever you like, you can ask anything. And this is a very interesting thing. Again, we can learn from this that the Vamana Dev then said, I don't need anything. I just want 3 steps of land. from you. That's all. And it's, small boy, so he's got this, like a little small feet, and the little steps are just three steps of a small boy is not much really. And Bali Maharaj said, "You're not very intelligent. You're not very, smart. You need to ask for more than that. I can give you anything you like." And Bali Maharaj then spoke a very profound philosophy. He said that a person, actually, I'm gonna read this as a quote. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing the three worlds. Material existence causes discontent in regard to fulfilling one's lusty desires and achieving more and more money. This is the cause for the continuation of material life, which is full of repeated birth and death. But one who is satisfied by that which is obtained by destiny is fit for liberation from this material existence. So this is kind of very profound teachings of Bali Maharaj, that if you are not control, you can have more and more and more and more, but that will not give you content, because ultimately people go for that in order to fulfill their desires and to become satisfied. But actually that satisfaction, it becomes like mirage. You're trying to get closer with it by going that direction, but you don't become content. But a person who is satisfied, and this is almost like a miracle, and actually in the 12th or 11th canto is described a person who is truly rich. It is very, very profound. It says the person is not the person who has got a lot rich is rich, because that person is not satisfied. But I mean, unless they're devotee, of course. But a person who is rich is actually who is satisfied. If you are satisfied in whatever you have, that you are satisfied with that, then you're rich, because you are satisfied with what you have. You don't need any more. It's a very, very profound principle. So true wealth and becoming truly rich is to becoming satisfied in Krishna consciousness. And then whatever comes in our destiny, and another point, that whatever is meant for us to come, it won't pass by. If we are meant to become rich, it will come, and we can use it then in Krishna service. So he refused all this um, big offering. It says, a brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power, but the spiritual potency of a dissatisfied brahmana decreases as fire diminishes in potency when water is sprinkled upon it. So that satisfaction of what we have and relying on what is going to come providentially, it's another principle that empowers us with enlightenment and spiritual power. So then his spiritual master wanted to stop him. So Bali Maharaj said, okay, I give you those 3 steps of land. But then spiritual master stepped in and said, no, don't give him anything. You're going to lose everything by giving him, by giving him what you offered. You're going to lose absolutely everything. And then you try to convince him not to give, using many material kind of logic and philosophy and etc. But Bali Maharaj, because he was a devotee of Krishna, he was prepared, to serve even at the expense of losing everything. You see how much devotion, how many people would be prepared to do that. That if you offer service and you lose everything what you have, but because he promised, and because it was a service of the Lord, he was still prepared to do that service. And of course, later on, he gained everything, which is gaining Krishna. If you gain Krishna, there is nothing else to gain after that. So he 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 disobeyed actually his spiritual master, but of course this is the circumstances where one can disobey the spiritual master, because spiritual master was teaching false religious principles, which means, do not surrender to Vishnu, do not surrender to Krishna. And even the logic was very sound and philosophically nice, but it was inappropriate because it was outside of the realm of surrender to the Lord and Vishnu. So therefore he politely refused and rejected, and his spiritual master then cursed, on top of that, okay, you're gonna lose everything. And that's what happened. um, Vamana Dev then made his first steps, and was supposed to be just a small one. Actually, in the first step, he covered, like most of the universe, and with the second step, he covered the whole universe. Um, and then he was asked, where you should place my third step, and Bali Maharaj, because he was surrendered soul, he said, place your third step on my head. So this is how Bali Maharaj became Mahajan. It means a great soul. There's a number of Mahajans. Is it 12 in number? Mahajans or 9? 12. 12 Mahajans, great souls are we recognize. Of course, there's many, many Mahajans, but there's a 12 has been recognized as a very special great souls who exemplify their life through their example. And we're learning from Bali Maharaj how he was very, very, we have a wonderful service attitude towards devotees and to spiritual master and the Brahmanas. He didn't break his promise. He didn't want to lie uh, to gain something material. And he surrendered to the Lord, even at the expense of losing everything. And of course, later on, it is explained by acharyas that he had this pride, although he had everything, and he didn't fully accept that everything does belong to the Lord. And he offered something to the Lord. I give you something, anything you like. So he still had a false sense of proprietorship. But by this pastime, Lord removed that pride from him, that everything what I have is mine. But actually, it gave him understanding that everything that he had, although he was, conquered the whole universe, it was actually Krishna's and meant to be used in Krishna's service. Um, so then, by this surrender, I mean, there's a lot more to this, but by this surrender, he become a Mahajan, and actually, the Lord gave him a planet called Sutala, and Vamana Dev is still there. Is actually acting as a doorman. He became, although he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his love and surrender, Bali Maharaj has conquered him. That the Lord has became like a doorman for his devotee, and is still there. And then we read later on in Bhagavatamrita when Gopakumar visits the Vamana Dev. Actually, Vamana Dev didn't want to leave Bali Maharaj. He said, this is my service, this is my devotee. I want to stay with him on this planet. So by that faith and trust in the Lord, and by that surrender, Bali Maharaj exemplified so wonderfully how to surrender to the Lord. So, are there any questions or comments? Ashish was first.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. A question, if you could help understand, please. So, but Vamana Dev, he first step, 2 steps, he covered the entire universe.
Yes.
How come Bali Maharaj was missed in those first 2 steps itself? Because Bali Maharaj was also within the universe only.
Sorry, can you ask again the last bit?
So, Vamana Dev, in 2 steps, he covered the entire universe and
Yes.
beyond.
Uh-huh.
So, wasn't Bali Maharaj already included in it then?
In that. So, I mean, it is a little bit mystical how with the steps one can cover entire universe with 2 steps. And that is one important point in our understanding of Krishna consciousness and developing faith is that certain things are beyond the conception. When we speak about the word conception and conceive, sometimes even when the birth, before the, conception precedes the birth, and then, there is, when the conception is there, a lady becomes pregnant and it's got a baby in there, but there's a limited space, there's a limit. So when conceive, it's something that goes into within our ability to perceive and conceive in our mind. But there is a very important point about the Lord. It's called inconceivable. So in order to understand the certain principles and concepts about the Lord, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to accept the principle of inconceivability. That you cannot, or speaking about the womb or your mind, has got its limited powers to conceive a certain concepts and aspects and situations and etc. So we need to leave a space in our mind and our hearts for inconceivable aspect of the Lord. So how he covered the whole universe with his 2 steps, it is inconceivable for us. And, you cannot physically imagine and see how this could have happened, but it did happen. And by accepting this principle, our faith grows. We need to allow that space for inconceivability in order to be able to understand Krishna consciousness and Krishna conscious principle. So I hope that answers your question. Yes.
Just a quick one. You could answer it very succinctly. It was just, what if a person decides to ignore his guru or gurus because he thinks they will restrict or restrain his inspiration to do what he feels is good for Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, we can, if something seems to be what we've been asked to do outside of the realm of Krishna consciousness, guru or, some senior representative, they're not the only one person in the universe, who can give us, who gives this guidance. If we have a doubt, then we can bounce back and discuss with, somebody in a similar capacity and a similar caliber, and clarify and express the doubt. And sometimes certain activities of pure devotees are not easy to understand. It is written in the Shastras, so it may be just our misconception as well that something is going on is not right. But it could be there that it is the case, and somebody can assess and help in the situation. But it's not like you go with the peers and start, say, this person is doing this and that. It can destroy our spiritual life. Even it may be true that somebody is doing something wrong, but if you become very critical fault finder and just go everywhere, post it on internet, on Facebook, and then spread it as a rumors and etc., you may fall from the spiritual position because of doing that. Even it may be correct what you have noticed. So one has to be very careful to navigate through this kind of concepts. So I'll stop here. We run out of time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Vamana Dev ki jai, Shri Jiva Goswami ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Haribo.
Space.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.